Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We're just so excited to have some experts in the pest control industry here speaking with us today. So, as you can see, the theme of the webinar, the title of the webinar is how to turn your database into dollars, how smart pest control companies maximize their sales and marketing in the off season. So, I felt like we've really assembled the pest control Avengers here. We've got some real experts when it comes to different areas of running your pest control company who we're just excited to talk to today. We've got Gary, who's an expert in database, Mandy, who's really great at content and educating your customer base, and then of course Sheri, who works with training your sales and making sure that your team is as efficient as possible. So just kind of some of the background of how we got here. So we've been talking with Sheri and Mandy, and by the way, I'm Gabe, and I'm from Cinch as well, just like Gary. And I've been talking with Sheri and Mandy for months now. And one kind of theme that kind of kept coming up is this industry, this pest control industry, is very cyclical. And it's very common that a pest control company is just as booked and as busy as can be throughout the spring and summer, and that a lot of projects and kind of extracurricular stuff gets pushed off till wintertime. And so where we kind of started to get this idea is for this webinar is what to do in the winter. Like when it's a little bit off season, can you still make money? Can you prepare for the next season when things get busy again? How can you be more ready for that? So that's kind of the genesis of how we got here. And what we really want to talk to you about today is these three categories. The first one being your database. Your database is a secret weapon. There's so much value in the information you are collecting about your customers, and figuring out how to make the most of that information just becomes really, really critical for the success of your company. Then second, talking about multi-channel marketing and multi-touch points. So you have this really great database where you're understanding your customer base. Now it's time to start communicating with them and communicating with them in an efficient, maximizing way. And we're excited to talk to you about that. And then finally, of course, how do you get your whole team on board? How are you training your team to do kind of step 1 and 2? Make sure that they're collecting the data correctly. Make sure that you've got the right content going out. And then when folks are calling in and asking for services, that your team is trained and ready to make the close on that call. So with that being said, we're going to kind of go one by one through our experts, and just some quick housekeeping notes. The Q&A is open. I'll be monitoring that as we go through the webinar here. And I'll kind of flag down our presenters and let them know if we've got a good question. Otherwise, we'll also have Q&A at the end. So we're going to go through and kind of hear from each of our experts, starting with Gary, and then Mandy, and then Sheri. And with that, Gary, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk database.
Okay, awesome. First of all, thanks, Gabe. He's a huge part of getting this set up and getting us all together. And then we also have Grant, who you don't see in the background, that's helped set this up as well. And then, of course, Mandy and Sheri. They're awesome. I've had a lot of conversations with them. So happy to have them on and collaborate on these things. I know, they can speak for themselves, but I think I speak for all of us when I say we're passionate about helping pest control companies grow. And that's really what this is all about today. So thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, let's dive into your database. So as I talk to pest control companies every day, right, working in pest control technology for 3 years, as I go through conversations with companies, one thing that I always hear, right, first of all is, hey, we want new customers. How do we get more business? How do we grow? And we want all of you to get new customers. But I think a critical key to your success and your growth is understanding the value that you already have within your existing customer base, right? So at the end of the day, your growth all starts with retention. So when we're talking about the winter season and the downtime of pest control, it is really, really important to make sure that you have done and are doing everything you can to keep the customers you have, and see if there's opportunities for growth within your customer base. So you can see the statistics that we have on the screen here, right? One companies that prioritize customer retention are 60% more profitable. So it's proven that your retention will help you stay more profitable. And at the end of the day, if you go out and get new customers, it doesn't matter if you can't keep the ones that you already have, or if you haven't been able to get the most value out of those customers, right? So I'm not going to read through every single one of these stats. You can see them on the screen there. But what I do like to talk about a lot is loyal customers are 7 times more likely to try a new product or service. So when we talk about conversion rates on new services and additional services or higher packages, you have a much better opportunity with those people who already have a relationship with you. They know you, they trust you, they've used you for a while. And so those are that's the place to start. That's where you can really extract some value, but you have to do it the right way. And the other thing is that repeat customers spend 67% more than new customers, right? So you're going to be able to get them on additional services, the mosquito service during the summer, the rodent service during the fall and winter, or that new termite inspection, termite service during the spring. So incredibly important to keep that in mind, and understanding the cost of acquisition with your existing customer base, right? To keep them is a lot less expensive than it is to go out and buy new customers and spend that advertising money elsewhere. So continuing on that, I think the question is then, what opportunities do you have within your database? So I always like to use the term mining for data, for dollars within your data, right? So how do you get into your database? How do you understand what's there? One of the biggest challenges I see is that it's just not that easy to do with your pest packs, your field routes, your Brio stacks of the world. It can just be a little challenging to extract the right kind of data, so you can really hone in and target the right type of customer and the right type of opportunities. So what are those opportunities in your database? You see, you have customers, you have an opportunity to cross-sell and upsell to your existing customer base. And I ask all of you on this call to think about this. As you see the golden nuggets on this side, think about, hey, what do I do well? What have we done well as a company? What are the gaps that we have? What are the opportunities that we have? And think about where you can extract more value and more opportunity out of your database. So
Gary,
yeah, go ahead.
I interrupt you because this is a really key important part. So when I had my pest control business, we were on ServSuite, and we loved to do cross-selling and upselling campaigns. And so I remember one time we were running a special for all customers who didn't have mosquito service, say. And so we had ServSuite pull the data for us so we could send it out. And they sent the email out to all the customers who did have mosquito service with us. And so we had all these customers who were paying a certain price that were now upset because we ran this special and they wanted that special price. So we had to give some away. I mean, it was a total disaster which is and this is what can happen as we're trying to pull data out of field routes, pest pack, Brio Stack, Gorilla Desk, any of these programs is, are you double checking and triple checking the data? Is it right? Do you know that it's right? There's so much human error that could happen if the criteria isn't set just perfect to now not look great in your customer's eyes because of that type of mistake.
No, love that, Sheri. You're so right, because that's the other part of it too, is one, you may need somebody to help you do that, right? So you guys had to ask ServSuite to pull that report for you because you just didn't know how to do it on your end. Two, you export that report from whatever software you're using, and then you may upload it somewhere else to then try and send a mass email. And then what happens is, one, you're not sure that the data is all correct. Two, you send one email and then it just kind of dies because there's no follow-up to it. And three, the data then changes, right? So these customers, maybe you were promoting mosquitoes, so these customers you send it to, some jumped on board with that service, others didn't. How do you know which ones to follow up with? Well, then you have to go in and pull another report and do that whole process over again. And what I see, and I'm sure you guys have seen too, Mandy and Sheri, is that companies just don't have time for that, right? If you have
that is a marketer's nightmare. That is a marketer's nightmare. It's what we lose sleep over, having the correct data, and then this wash, rinse, repeat cycle that we're talking about here. So having a native data that's fluid with real time, client, where they are in the client journey is super helpful.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And you guys, you see that all the time in working with pest control companies as well, Mandy and Sheri, that there's so, what I always see too, we all know how it goes during the busy season, right? You have all these grand ideas and you want to do all these things, but you get so busy that everything kind of falls apart or falls by the wayside. So the ability to continue to pull those reports or to follow up on one email blast or text blast that you do is very, very difficult. And that's what we see is it kind of falls off. So this time of year is the perfect time to set things up to run for themselves for you, to give you the opportunity to have something that can help you get more targeted and specific with the data that you already have. But then also for you to use that and allow automated campaigns to run in the background and you capitalize on those as you go along. But if you don't get it set up before spring hits, then typically it just doesn't happen. And then we push it off till the next winter when every company has so many different priorities and competing priorities, right? That it can fall by the wayside. I was going to say, Sheri and Mandy, of these other golden nuggets, what have you seen in your experience as really big opportunities out of those golden nuggets?
Oh gosh, all of them. So cross-selling and upselling existing customers, huge, because the more it's been statistically proven that the more a customer spends with you, the more services they have with you, the less likely they are to leave. So that creates a retention factor because, you know, if they have pest, termite, and mosquito with you, if they leave, they got to go find another company that does pest, termite, and mosquito. So it's a harder shop, and our customers tend to be naive and they don't realize our competitors might offer the same services as well. So they don't even try. So having multiple services and, you know, the more they're going to buy with you, the more loyal they become as well. One-time customers, getting those converted into recurring customers or doing another one-time with them, getting referrals from friends, all that happens, taking old canceled customers that thought maybe they didn't need you anymore because you solved their problem. They might realize that your preventative services helped with the problem, which is why they didn't have one. So all that in there. And then again, should we be reaching out to our customers just to sell them something, or should we be reaching out to educate them and do things like that? I personally never did loyalty contests or programs with customers, but I know I have clients that do, and what a kind of interesting concept. So there's some great ideas out there as well.
I like to tie referrals and loyalty together, kind of incentives, where there's an opportunity for your current customers to almost gift their friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers with some sort of discount to your business. And then you also give them a thank you. So it's win-win-win. It's win for your customer, win for whoever they're referring, and it's obviously a win for your business because you've paid way below what you would pay for a Google click to incentivize that happening. The other one I really like is referrals, but I also believe that referrals happen through every touch that you have. It's not just we're going to ask for referrals when we have when we want to. It's how are you constantly having meaningful, kind contact with your customers so that you're always top of mind. No one walks around just introducing themselves to someone new and going, hey, do you want to know who I use for pest control? Do you want to know who cleans my teeth? That's just not how we operate. But when you've got a friend in need, you want to be the first one to speak up on behalf of your pest control company to help your neighbor, especially, you know, if they're having problems that could come your way. But yeah, I like this whole list. These are all really good nuggets.
Well, it's such a good point too, when it comes to referrals and things like that. A lot of companies I talk to, they wish they had a better referral program. But to your point, it's not, you don't want to just come randomly and just throw out referrals for no reason at all. It's got to be based on a compelling event or an important event. So it's when you get a 5-star review in, do you have the ability to automatically request a referral from that customer? When we talk about loyalty contests and programs, do you ever throw out there a drawing, right? For enter to win a drawing by, whatever it is, a prize, a monetary amount, enter to win by referring your friend, right? And that enters you into that contest to be able to win, a prize or a trip or something. Trip may be a little expensive, but something along those lines, right?
Yeah. Month of service. Having service relevant to what you're doing is always my recommendation. That people love to save money, so by doing good, can they also get?
Exactly. And so these are great ideas, right? We all think, hey, this would be really cool to cross-sell, upsell, get referrals, all that. But what are the challenges? We're not naive enough to think that you don't have challenges, right? We understand the business and how it goes. And these are some of the obstacles that you run into and why this is hard to do sometimes. Time, manual processes. We talked about exporting lists, no easy way to segment your data and get really targeted and specific, because the thing about communication these days, we're all bombarded with emails and text messages. The spray and pray era is done, right? It is now more important than ever to get targeted and very specific with your customer base. Data is changing, right? You lack an integrated solution where you can bring your data from PestPack or Field Routes or any of the others over to a central system and utilize that for these types of things, right? Content creation, communication cadence. So that's where you need something to help you with this, right? And this is just one of the things, if you've heard about Cinch, if you've talked to me about it, why I was so passionate and so interested in coming over to Cinch, because again, I want to help pest control companies grow. And all those things we just talked about are opportunities. And then there are those challenges that every company runs into. So Cinch offers you the ability to understand and pull in all of this data into one source. So pull it over from PestPack, pull in your Google reviews, or any other software that you use. Pull those into one source, match the data, and then allow you to go ahead and use our algorithm and our data science to target your customer list, target your groups as specific as you want to by as many data points as you want to. And then you can use that to run them through any sort of omni-channel communication you want to. And I know Mandy's going to talk about the type of communication, so I'm not going to go into that. But you have the ability to talk to your customers the way that they want to communicate with you, and do that in an automated way. So you and the team don't have to compile these lists, go through it, send it, and then try to redo the entire cycle again. So this will go through for you, message, and then we can check and see what happened. Did they add a new service? Did they complete that mosquito service? Did they refer a friend? Have a web form come in. So there is a way to do it. There are solutions out there. And, whether it's Cinch or something else, we want to help you and show you that there is an easier and better way to do the things that we just talked about. So
let me give you a really cool example with this, kind of this subway system of goodness that you have here. I love this slide. Let's say you have a part of town where you have a couple of customers and you want to increase your route density because maybe you have to hire a new service technician and you're trying to build a market, or you have a market that's kind of piecey and you want to fill in the holes. You can look and see where you have, even by zip code, opportunities to add services and do specific campaigns. So, this isn't just about growing your business in its entirety. It's about strategically growing your business and using the data. That's all I'm doing this on the left side. All the loop on the left side to then help you be strategic and target and use the strategies on the right side.
Oh, Mandy, thank you so much for that. That's a great example, right? Because you can drill down by, hey, let's focus on this zip code based upon this service category, the amount of time that they've been with us, and if they've left us a 4 or 5 star Google review in the past. You can get that specific on the communication. And when maybe it is an upsell package, right? And let's say we send out that communication and then they go ahead and add that package on, then we'll actually pull them out of that journey, we call it, or a campaign, so that they won't continue to receive communication. It'll just continue on for those that didn't meet the end goal that we had set within that particular journey. So it's completely dynamic. when the data changes on your side, it changes the way that they're communicated to you or ends the journey for them. And again, the goal is, and I think we would all agree with this, we don't want to just bombard customers nonstop with direct communication for no reason. We want to really help you to utilize the opportunities you have and capitalize on those extremely valuable touch points that you're making to make them as impactful as possible, right? And there hasn't been an easy way to do that in the past, but there is an easy way to do that now. And the team and the knowledge that we bring can help you with that. Okay.
Huge. It's huge. It's so big because it's like, there's a lot of complexities there, and learning how to do this on your own takes time, and time is money. We can't buy more time. And so I've always said, you know, who can help me do things so that I can get more done? And Cinch is a great who for people to help get those things done. So it's a great process.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to turn the time over to Mandy, and there's a crucial piece of this when you look at this side over here of the communication side. It is content. And I think another challenge that I see companies having is the ability to create content on their own. And Mandy is absolutely an expert on how to do this and how to create that content. I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you. I appreciate that toss to me, because you're right. This is one of it's not only knowing that you have the who, but you need another who. You got to marry two who's together to really make this in any automation system sing, because there's so many intricacies to it, and really timing is everything. You know, when do your customers expect to hear from you? Well, one time point in their customer journey they expect to hear from you is when they start doing business with your company. Welcome emails are so important. And in fact, 74% of customers expect them, especially businesses that they're in an intimate relationship with. I don't let too many people into my house to look under my bathroom sink. I would say that I'm in a pretty intimate relationship with my pest control company. They can troll my yard anytime that they need to. It's a really different kind of relationship than you have with your HVAC or your plumber. I guess your plumbers also look under your bathroom sink, but you know, you get the gist of it. But when you're in a service company, when you own a service company that is this intimate, you're in a relationship. You know, even think about your dentist, your doctor. These are businesses that that consumers expect to hear from when they start doing business with you. So welcome emails are a great way to do that. And in fact, I'm going to talk to you going beyond the welcome email in a moment. But these emails have a really high open rate, up to 91%, and a really, really high read rate, higher than average for most types of email and communications. The second time that that consumers expect to hear from you is before and after you complete services. And I would think that your Pest CRM is taking care of this for you. You may have text notifications or email notifications before and after. You may send service reports to let your homeowners know what happened, what you fixed for them, what they should be looking at. The third time that customers should hear from you is when you have something helpful or meaningful to share with them. When are you talking to them about the pests that you have pest pressure on currently? When are you talking to them about maybe good things and cool things that your company is doing community service-wise? And the fourth time that customers expect to hear from you, and they hope to hear from you, is when you can actually save them money. Everyone likes to save money, and when it's targeted and it's timely, as Gary spoke about, it can be magical and it can be very, very fruitful for your business. What I find when I'm talking to pest control companies is that they're really good with number 2 and 4, and they're numbered there for a reason. I'm about to blow up the Q&A. Sorry, guys, maybe we needed the chat on, but most businesses feel very comfortable with 2, definitely 2, because they've got their pest CRMs backing them up. They may do 4, They may want to do 4. But 1 in 3 tend to kind of lag behind. They're the wish list. I wish I had time to put an email sequence together. Oh, I just foreshadowed what I'm going to talk about. I wish that I could, send out some pest education or a newsletter. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. In the Q&A, put the numbers.
Go ahead.
Did the chat go? Did we open the
No,
chat?
I was just gonna say I had a comment on that, but I can wait till you do the Q&A first.
Well, let's let everyone, you're going to comment in a second. In the Q&A, put the numbers that you feel your company is excelling at. When you start doing business with your customers, you really excel with that. Before and after you complete services, are you sending meaningful and helpful information to your customers regularly? And are you sending communications when you can save them money? We got 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Hooray for the ones. Hooray for the ones, 1 and 2. And I'd be curious to know if that 1 is automated through your Pest CRM, and if it's kind of the automated message that they deliver. Gary, and ready for your comment while we're getting some more.
Yeah. While everybody's working in there, I wanted to make a comment on number 1, right? In a lot of what we deal with too is Google reviews and understanding feedback from your customers and getting that. I don't know if everybody's probably heard this in some form or fashion, that conflict is unmet expectations. So what I see often is if you have a new customer and you don't engage with them prior to the appointment and set clear expectations on what they can look for from you, who will be taking care of them, what the process is going to look like. You go out there and I'm sure you've all seen this before, where you spray a home and then, 2 hours later, you stirred things up. There's some bugs running around, and then they call in right away like, I still see bugs. They don't realize that it takes, hey, give it time, give it 24 hours to do the job, right? And then you can ask after 24 hours for that Google review. But I see a lot of times, because companies aren't proactive in setting clear expectations and what's going to happen and what they plan to do for this customer, that they just assume that everything should be dead immediately, because the average person doesn't know anything about pest control. So I see so much value in setting clear expectations, making your customer feel welcome. That is a crucial piece of the retention and the overall satisfaction.
Yeah, I had customers talk about the fact that, they were surprised to receive a welcome letter or a welcome email. We even did handwritten thank you notes as well. And they were surprised that, they were talking about them years after, like, being a new customer. So it made such an impression. It is important to thank them for their business and set those upfront expectations as to what to expect after services, and that your services are guaranteed, and how you do business kind of with them, so that they know what to expect and there's no disappointments or surprises type of deal. Totally agree.
I could not agree more. And let's talk about the kinds of content that I believe and I help clients actually deliver on. We've talked about the welcome email. I don't believe it's one email. I believe it's a sequence of emails, because we have a lot of information to impart on our brand new customers. And if we do it all at once, they can't absorb it all. So I like to create a welcome email sequence that's 6 to 7 emails. And so depending even on your service cadence, from service 1 to service 2, they could have heard from you several times with good, helpful, short pieces of content. You can send one email with everything they need to know. It's not going to get read. If you send emails that are broken up with, love it, Gary, I call it live bug, dead bug, when to call us. We have an email on the email welcome, the welcome email sequence that talks just about that. And so you're just parsing out the information so that your customers don't get overwhelmed, and they get to know you and you're top of mind. And they start to learn that you don't send BS emails, because everything you're sending is relevant and important to them. Another one that we send in our welcome email sequence is an opportunity for your customers to save your contact information to their cell phone.
And this is so important. This was the coolest thing ever because Mandy has been like, I have been a client of Mandy's for a really long time. When I had my pest business, continuing to be a client of hers since I have my coaching business. But this sticky email thing, the contact thing is amazing because here's what happens. Customers call you through Google Local Services and then they save that number. So every time they call you, you're getting charged by Google Local Services. Or they're calling you from some other marketing campaign number and they save that number. And now your tracking is off because it's looking like you're getting all these leads from that particular marketing campaign and you're not because it's existing customers. Better yet is when it's one of your employees calling that number.
Tell me that hasn't happened. Tell me that hasn't happened to you, Sheri.
It happens.
That hurts my heart. That hurts my marketing heart.
It happens.
Right. So not only does, sticky contact helps, keep your data straight, it helps save you money. And you really want customers just to go to their own cell phone, but call you on the number that you want them to, email your office at the email that you want them to. So that's all part of the welcome email sequence, in my opinion. It's how to get in touch with your business, when to call you, even some about what you're about as a company. How long have you been in the community? What are your kind of your core values? But you want to parse that out over time and not overwhelm your new customer with just one long wall of text. The second kinds of emails that we talked about are when you're doing business with them, before and after service. So we talked about automated service messages, feedback requests, which are different than review requests. It's wonderful to get a review on Google, and we all want those 5-star reviews. However, I also believe it's just as valuable to your organization to get real, honest feedback on your services. Because you as owners and leaders may not know that one of your technicians is doing this annoying little thing that is bothering a good portion of your customer base in their route. Get that information before they go to Google, before they cancel you. So feedback to me is almost maybe even more important than reviews, because when you get it right, the reviews come, right? So the reviews will come when you get it right. And then we also talked about referral incentives with Gary. And, I do believe you want to, when you're asking for referrals in an automated way, make it a win-win-win. Give your customer something that they can gift to their referral. That feels really good. And then give your customer something that is meaningful to them. It's called money. And then that obviously, grows your business because you're keeping customers happy. They're talking about you and you're getting new customers way, 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 way cheaper than you are from your Google clicks. So the third category, and I didn't see any threes. I didn't see any threes of people that are sending information that's meaningful and helpful. I'm a big, big, big believer in having your customers become good pest partners. What does that mean? We are not going to DIY them and teach them how to do their pest control. That's not what we want to do. But we do want to educate them on the things as homeowners that they can be aware of that only make your job more effective. Hey, can you please turn over that flower pot of standing water in your yard? Thank you. Right? If they're having mosquito services with you, why wouldn't we want to educate them to do that little thing? Look at their bushes, look at their branches, things that are touching the house. And we do this in a very, very siloed way every single month, where there is a pest that we're sharing information on. So again, we're not sending newsletters. Please, please don't send a newsletter.
So Mandy, you weren't doing this when I had my pest control business because I would have loved it, but I have several clients who use you for this. And the open rate on these educational emails is extremely high. Can you give some of those statistics on these? Because I was blown away by the open rate and the feedback from my clients on this.
Yeah, yeah. I have open rates on the Pest Ed emails of up to 40%.
which is double what a normal open rate is at least,
More than
right?
double. The
Okay.
average open rate is between 10 to 15%. Now that has a lot to do with the hygiene of your database and your email list. If you've gone to a bunch of home shows and you've just done giveaways and you've gotten a bunch of lists or you've bought lists, so it definitely depends on how clean your email hygiene or your email list is. I do go through an extensive process with my customers to clean their list. It's at least 10 steps. We run it through some programs. We take out emails that are no longer valid. If you've got some old emails in there, they're not going to deliver. They're not going to get opened. The email service providers put little black marks next to your email domain for that. We want to have healthy email practices and good open rates. But yeah, up to 40% I've gotten for clients consistently. So it's a big.
We've got some good questions coming in, Mandy. I was hoping that maybe you could address these, seem really applicable to what you're talking about. So we had a question here for reoccurring preventative pest control. Some people believe the less you talk to the customer, the longer you will retain them, as people can tend to be annoyed by this and will cancel their contracts. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, that hurts my heart. I think that's someone who's going to be cantankerous regardless. If you're providing meaningful and helpful service and information to customers and you're talking to them once, twice a month, no one should be annoyed with that. And if they are, there's always the unsubscribe on the bottom of your emails. So I think, these might be one-off situations. This is not the norm.
Yeah, I found that, no matter what you do, there is going to be up to 5% that don't like it. It doesn't matter what it is. And so you don't make decisions around the 5%, you make decisions around the 95%. And there is that unsubscribe button as well. There was also a question that I answered because this Q&A thing versus chat is really different for me. So I'm technologically challenged, so I apologize. But Christopher had asked if we could repeat the method to ensure customers save the correct office contact. This is part of the service Mandy does. And so you can explain it better than I can, Mandy, but this is one of the tools that's in this whole process that Mandy does for you to get these communications and stuff with your customer and the onboarding letters and all that different stuff. Mandy?
And
Sure.
I just wanted to add real quick that's again back to that comment of annoying customers. That's where it's so important to be as targeted and specific as possible and have valuable content that is going to actually provide something important to the customer, right? If you're constantly just bombarding them with promotions over and over, like we've all had it with companies that will send you like a text message every single day to buy this, buy this, buy this, or an email every day, buy this, buy this, buy this. But I think if you are strategic based upon service category, based upon the length of time they've been with you, and you're not just blasting out to everybody all the time just because they're your customer, that's where the value comes. Like I love what Mandy says about the education. That's so important. Just to have a company that's confident enough to educate your customers on pest control and not just say, hey, call us, we'll take care of the problem for you. When you educate, they look at you as a partner. They look at you as a confidant, right? And then they're more likely to reach out to you. So the whole goal is to keep you at top of mind. So not to annoy the customer, but keep you at top of mind. So when they do see that pest, they call you instead of that first one that pops up on Google.
And I think that the key words here are helpful and meaningful. When you provide helpful and meaningful information from the heart, which is why I don't do newsletters. I like to send one-to-one emails from leaders in my clients' companies to their homeowners, one-to-one. We're having a conversation. And when you're talking, you're building trust and continuing to build trust and continuing to be top of mind. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly. It really does come from, who are you as an organization? You know, and if you feel like your organization has heart, I'm your gal. Because a lot of the communications that, and my training is in story theory, and using story theory to help invite customers into a story of their success. So you're right, Gary, it really is about how, it's not only what you do, it's how you do it. And I just want to point out in this little, I kind of made a little flow chart here. Money is at the is at the end. And I know, you know, hey, we're all here to make money. We're all for-profit businesses. But until you've built that relationship, and yes, they've hired you, but it might be month one or month 2 or month 3, and maybe you still have the pest problem that, you know, you're trying to help them solve the pest problem that they might have. This really is about being a relationship-driven business, and stop thinking of yourself as just a service company. You're a relationship company. And only once you've built the relationship and have, you know, had kind, helpful, consistent communications. Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about that. I'll just mention it. These are not one-offs. I mean, obviously the welcome email sequence comes to an end. You are going to send, you know, automated messages before and after service. You're going to, on occasion, ask for a review request. But pest education should be consistent. And you can add holidays in there. Birthdays, doctor's offices, dentist offices, they always send birthday messages. If you get one from your pest control company, it really, really stands out. And I know not everyone's a birthday person. If they're not a birthday person, your customers aren't going to give you their birthday anyhow. And you're saying to yourself, Mandy, we don't collect birthdays from our customers. I do it for you. So if you're into these nice touches and just being that company that really, really cares, there's really some cool methodologies. And I encourage everyone, take a screenshot. Someone asked, and I know it got answered, if there's going to be a recording. Yes, you're going to get a recording. Take a screenshot of this. If you have an in-house marketer, these are the things that you can bring to them. And, you know, really, they should be, if you've got an in-house marketer, they should be focused on the last one, the dollar signs, you know, doing meaningful sales marketing activities. The other 3 can be taken care of through great automation and, well, call me. Happy to help. But, you know, at some point, you know, it's all about content is king. And, you know, we all want to be kings in our domain, kings and queens in there. So, you know, I really hope that this is something that gives you some ideas to think about and how you can continually, kindly, consistently talk to your client database, because at some point they're going to need some human touch. I always call it the tech to human handoff. And, you know, when we get down to that final phase with that dollar sign, you might try some automated methods. And I've got clients, and one of them's on this call. Love you, Laura. She says, "Oh, can you just put together a workflow for me?" And it just sells. You know, we'd love that. We're so busy. We're so busy. We need that digital salesperson, which we can do. But then there's still people that need more. And you have to have that tech to human handoff. And how do you do that? You have to have team members that can actually sell front of the house, back of the house, on the road, everywhere, on the side of the ball field. And this is what Sheri does. Sheri's instrumental and has helped a lot of my clients' teams get really, really good at this, so that your digital messages really become dollars from your database.
Yep. So thanks. So I'm here to talk about, how do you take all this data and all this marketing content and turn it into the dollar part, because that's what we're all interested in. And so, you know, what I find, let me back up. I went one too far. Woo. Technology, told you I had challenges. So there is a difference between marketing and sales. And there's a lot of times when I talk to clients, they're like, well, I need to do more marketing because we're not getting any sales. And the problem may not be the marketing itself. You know, marketing is there to generate the leads, and our database is full of very inexpensive or free leads. And so not taking advantage of those people in our database and not continuing to build that database is costing us money. I know how lots of people have never cross-marketed their existing customers. Lots of people have never gone back and asked a one-time service if they needed that one-time service again. Lots of people have never gone back to customers who've canceled and asked if you know, they want to come back and give them some incentives to come back, let alone ask existing customers for referrals. You know, if every customer referred you one customer, you double your business. So referrals are pretty important. But marketing gives us information on, you know, lead count, and then we can start looking at what that cost of lead is, because we can spend a lot of money on marketing. So there's some details behind that we need. But the key is to turn those leads into business. And that's where sales comes in. And sales is taking those marketing leads when the phone rings and turning it into actual business and money that we can collect. And to do that, this is where like things kind of fall apart for a lot of companies, is because we fail to train our team. And so, you know, so many times we assume that if somebody knows how to answer the phone, well, just sell business, like just sell it. Like if the customer calls in, just give them a price, just sell it. Just because they can answer the phone doesn't mean they know how to sell what you do and actually do it. If they apply for a sales job and they have sales experience, we assume they know how to sell. They don't. If we hire a technician and they have prior experience, we still train them. If we hire a technician and we put a technician in, you know, into the field, we would never, I hope, put them in the field with no training. We wouldn't, you know, most technicians, if they're might do 200 stops in training before they're released on their own, but yet we will put an unexperienced salesperson on the phone and practice on potential clients. And so you need to have a system for selling. You have got to have a training program to teach your people how you want them to sell. And then you need your salespeople or CSRs, whoever's doing the selling, they need to know how to control that sales call versus allowing the customer to control that sales call. Because when the customer controls it, you end up teaching them how to do it themselves. How many times does that happen? Or you end up selling to them based on price instead of selling to them based on the service or building a relationship with them so they want to do business with you. Do you have a system that you've taught that when you're, you know, how is your phone answered? How is that sales call handled? Are they collecting the data on the prospective person on the other end of the phone? How do we follow up with them if we don't get their data? How do we market them in the future if we don't get their data? And by data, I mean name, address, phone number, email address. How do we stay in contact with people who we gave quotes to that didn't buy? Because they're not going to give you their information after you quote them the service. They're only going to give it to you up front. And so do you have a process for that? Do you have that clearly defined? Do your people know what questions to ask the people calling in? Do they know how to quote your services? Do they just talk a lot about themselves? Or are they asking questions? Are they building pain? You know, I call it pain, taking people into the pain funnel. What is their pain? Anybody calling us that customer's in pain, they need us, they want us. Half the sale's done when they call. Because if marketing does their job and gets that phone to ring, by the time the customer calls us, they're 50% there. Those inbound leads, you should be closing at least 50%. Now, when you're upselling customers, Do you have that process defined? What's that conversation look like? How is that call being handled? Because now they've got to create a want or a need for that existing client to want or need the other services that you offer. And so what does that look like? And are you tracking all this so that you know the system you've put in place, is it working?
Sheri, can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
Being in sales for 19 years now, I love what you're saying there about training, because a lot of sales reps, they're not hitting their goals. They're not hitting their targets. They're not hitting their numbers. They may end up losing their jobs, right? Because they didn't produce. And in a lot of those scenarios, they simply didn't get the right kind of training up front, or have clear expectations set, or a plan, just like you talked about, a process for how to close these leads. So a lot of time that falls on the leadership of the company, or the sales leadership, because they're not taking that time to put in those processes, role play with them. I like what you said. You shouldn't be practicing on the customer. You should, or the prospect, you're practicing on each other until you feel comfortable that they can handle a sales call. And then in addition to that, I've also heard it where, even if it's a customer service rep, where, oh, I'm not a salesman. You can teach sales skills to anybody. I've heard it many times before. I'm not a salesperson. It's not hard. You just have to learn the right skills, the right questions to ask, what to qualify for, and solve the pain, solve the problem. So I think you're spot on with that. And that comes down to the training and the program that the company has in place.
Well, one thing, you nailed it right on the head. So first of all, we're all always selling. I was selling my children on what to eat on their plate for dinner. Like, you're going to eat this if you want that. Like you're constantly selling. I'm selling my spouse because I want a new outfit, or I want a new car. What is it that I want to go to dinner tomorrow night. You're selling your friends on what you want them to go do with you. We're always selling. Unfortunately, selling gets a bad rap, right? Because they think of it as used car salesmen. And a lot of it is because people aren't taught how to properly sell, or how to do it where it isn't salesy, right? We're problem solvers. We're in a problem solving business. And so that sales call, whether it's outbound or inbound, needs to be geared around a problem. And does that customer have a problem that they need solved? And if so, we should be that solution. And it's really that simple. But again, it goes back to training, because so many people never train sales. I hear all the time, my techs can't sell. Well, so have you taught them? Have you taught them how to have the conversation with the customer? Because look at McDonald's. They taught their minimum wage employees to say, do you want fries with that? Or would you like to supersize that? Chick-fil-A has to train their people to say, it's my pleasure. And it's one of the hardest things they train. It's the number one most difficult thing they train. But think of the amount of training they do to just get them to say 2 words, my pleasure. And yet we're wanting to see dollar results out of our people with no training. Mandy, you're on mute if you're talking.
I was talking up a storm. You'd mentioned, not only training, but you mentioned systems. And I just wanted to point out that even for inbound calls that don't yield a sale at the moment, when you have your system in place and the person on the other end of the phone is doing things in the right order, and you're gathering information, and that person says, I'll get back to you, then they become a lead in your system, and you still have opportunities to nurture them from a marketing perspective. And I'm not talking about just sending them a promotion. I'm talking about helpful and meaningful communications, so that you are showing them what kind of company you are, where is your heart as an organization. So that system of selling is really also about process and order, so that you get the data to put into your your CRM that then your automation system can use to continue to nurture, because every call that is inbound has cost you probably $50 to $100 if they're Google related and not a referral. So keep that in mind. You know, when you're practicing, when you know, what Sheri said is so relevant, but it's also in your you know, in your budget, because you're wasting those dollars on people that have, you know, you've paid really good money to get those people to call you. So.
Oh yeah, I used to tell my people, every time that phone rings, it's $100. It's $150. You need to, like, the fact that it goes to voicemail is a problem. Like, you need to be jumping on the phone and you need to be answering it. And there needs to be a process for handling that call and answering it. Gary mentioned role playing. I don't know a person in the world that likes role playing. Okay, it is not fun. Not everybody loves it. Okay, Mandy, there we go. We have a person, that 1%. But, you know, most people don't like role playing because it's uncomfortable. You can do it over the phone. Like, we used to call each other. I have clients that they're calling each other in the same office and pretending to be customers to role play so they don't have to look them in the eye. Sit back to back so you don't have to look them in the eye. You need to practice on yourselves before you practice on your customers, because practice on your customers is costing you money when that phone call is costing you $100 or more. When, you know, if you're reaching out to an existing customer and you're practicing on them, it could turn into a cancellation because you handled it wrong. You know, there could be a number of things. So there needs to be practice. And then you need to be listening to phone calls or having phone calls scored or something so that you know if those calls are being handled correctly. And then you need to be tracking KPIs on your employees to make sure that their performance is what you expect out of them. And know how much they're selling and how many outbound calls they're making and inbound calls. You can't sell anything if you're not talking to people. So,
awesome. Well, we're coming up against the clock here. This has been so informative, and maybe just to kind of wrap things up, and anyone, there were some questions coming in. I think we've answered most of them, but if there's any follow-ups, we'll be showing a slide here in a second that's got everyone's contact information. You can reach out to us with questions. But maybe if we can just go through each of our panelists and give me, if I'm a pest control owner, like, what's my one takeaway from your area of expertise? Let's go, you know, Gary, Mandy, Sheri, same order.
Yeah. So what I would say is personalization times automation, right? So automate the processes and the communication that you can while still keeping that personal touch. All those touch points, that type of communication that Mandy was talking about that is so crucial. There is a way with Cinch to be able to automate that process and get it out in the right time to the right people. Love it.
I would say the one thing I would encourage you to do when you've got a little break in the action seasonally is make your plan for communication. Don't wait until February, March and go, oh crap, we think I'll send out some pest education. It's a 12-month-a-year opportunity. You should map it out 12 months at a time, and get your plan together so that your sales and marketing people, if you have in-house marketers, they can focus on sales-driven marketing activities. So, you know, take the kind of the low-hanging fruit, the pest ed, the holidays, the birthdays off their plates so that they can focus on those sales-driven marketing activities.
Awesome.
And I would say, have a system for selling and train your people to that system so that when all the things you do for marketing, whether it's having a winter special campaign, doing all the stuff that Mandy does to educate your people, taking the technology and the data from Cinch and, you know, putting these campaigns together, make sure you have a system for selling and a training process so that your team can actually turn all that marketing effort into money.
Love it. That's what we're all here for. Love it. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Here's the quick overview of our presenters today. We'll be sending a recording of this out so you can have their emails here to reach out to them for follow-up questions. And then the last thing, we will be attending Pest World next month. Make sure you come by our booth and visit us at Cinch. Mandy's going to be hanging out with us. Sheri, we're taking a rain check from her, but we'll see her next year. And if you mentioned that you were at this webinar, we're going to give you an extra entry into our giveaway. So, and then another quick plug, there is, if you want to take a demo from Cinch, $50 Amazon gift card is ready for you. So scan that QR code, and then you'll be able to reach out to Mandy and Sheri as well. And they might give you something special too, as well as all their expertise, all their great knowledge. I can't believe I didn't market this earlier as the Avengers of Pest Control, but you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you all for attending today. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. If you do a demo with me, Gary's going to send you a $50 Amazon gift card.
Me too.
Call me.
All right, talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.